So the project that we're putting on is a project to promote diversity awareness as well as handicap and disability awareness. The project is called Should I Save the Seat for the Kid in the Wheelchair. We asked PT students from November 5th to November 9th to devote 24 hours in a wheelchair. Like I said before, the main goals are to raise awareness for disabilities as well as to have participants inside the project raise money for special athletics.
Keith and I came up with the idea for this project when we were working with one of our professors, and we were looking at research on how healthcare providers interact with their patients. And one of the things that we found is that it's hard for people in the healthcare industry to recognize their patients as whole people and not just as a patient that they're seeing for a specific issue. So in discussing that, we were trying to think of how we could sort of bring this topic to the student body and get people talking about what it's like to live with a disability.
I feel like some aspects of Quinnipiac are handicap accessible. For the most part, a lot of the doors do have handicap access, but getting to the buttons is very difficult many of the times. Some of the ramps are a lot steeper inclined than you would notice walking on them normally, but when you're in a wheelchair, some of the inclines are very difficult to get up in terms of strength.
I think we really got people talking about what it's like to be in a wheelchair on this campus. And for the participants, they said it really opened their eyes to all the small adaptations that really go into adjusting your lifestyle to using an assistive device.
Well, I definitely found surprising the fact that not only did I not have use of my legs, but I also didn't think about that I wasn't going to have a lot of use of my hands. The first thing that I did in the morning was I tried to get up and make breakfast, but then I had to get into my fridge and our door handle opens the wrong way, so it was more of a process to back into the spot, open the door, pulled out all my ingredients, and then I was stuck. I was like, all right, well now how do I get to the stove with all this stuff in my hands now? So I had to balance my eggs in my lap, and I had to wheel back over to the kitchen, so I wasn't thinking even how to carry things right away. So that was the first thing that surprised me to start off the day. And I was also surprised that our campus is not handicap accessible. I thought that being a health science campus, we'd be more aware of these issues and that we would have more handicap accessible places, but the campus was really not handicap friendly.
Honestly, I think it's pretty not handicap accessible, just like all the walkways are very curved, and like in the CAF and stuff, trying to get like through the food lines is really difficult. You can't get through the orange things, and a lot of the doorways are really small.
Yeah, the CAP was one of the most difficult parts for me. It was just really crowded, and you have to go in the back way where there's people exiting, and you're trying to enter.
Yeah.
And doorways are pretty difficult to enter through. Even like the, what's it called, the wisp in the door that you have to get over. Even the one at the handicap door was difficult for my wheelchair. Well, the first time when I was going to lunch, I saw a lot of people from inside the cafeteria like staring at me and saying like, maybe because I don't have a cast, but it's just weird having people look at you all the time. And when I was struggling to get up a hill, I actually had a few Quinnipiac students ask like, oh, do you need a push? So that was actually nice that people tried to help me get to class.
Yeah, I found that people looked hesitant at first, but like after it kind of like clicks, they were very helpful. I had a lot of people like offer to carry my food while I was in the CAF and like brought it to the table for like brought it to the register and then brought it to the table for me. But one of the things that like is when people are turned around and you're trying to get through somewhere, I feel like I was in the way a lot just because everything's so narrow, and when you ask them at first, they look kind of like annoyed when they see that you're in a wheelchair and they're like, oh, sorry. And I don't know, people are nice, it's just really different.
I definitely had to ask for a lot of help. I was not able to reach things that were above my head. I couldn't get into shelves. Getting into every single door was a challenge. It's hard to really pull open a door towards you with your hands on the wheels and your hands on the door. So basically any room I wanted to get into, I had to have someone either wait there until someone could open the door for me, if someone was nearby, open the door for me. But my favorite interaction of the day was I was supposed to give a North Haven tour, so we did have a family come in, and it was me and the other tour guide, and the looks that I got as if I was going to give them the tour were a little bit funny, but nothing was cruel and no one was mean. people opened doors for me and helped me get into places. So I was surprised by how friendly people were rather than treated differently or just ignored. I definitely gained a new respect for people that have to be in wheelchairs because I never even thought about some of the hardships that they go through, and it was very challenging, and no one ever complains that whenever you see people that are in wheelchairs. They never look like they're struggling, they never look like it's hard. But at the end of the day I was exhausted, my arms were killing me, I was anxious to get out of this sitting position. Every single time I went through a door I was like, come on, just gotta get through it, but you never see people struggle like that, so it really gave a newfound respect for those students.
At the end of the project, we had a discussion with all the participants where we talked about what they noticed, what was difficult, what was surprising, and I have to say one of the things that I thought was really interesting was everybody talked about how much the Quinnipiac student body was willing to help, willing to open doors, willing to stand in line for them at the CAF, and that's, you know, something nice to say about our community. But also, one of the things that was brought up was just how interesting it was to see how much training really needs to go into teaching someone how to live with a wheelchair, and you know, how much strength it takes, how the family members would also need to be trained. I know, being a physical therapy student, it was hard to transfer my roommate who was in the project onto the toilet, and that's something that I spent weeks on in class, so it really gave you an appreciation for the amount of work and training that goes into living with a disability.